Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round 2 of Season 7 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series. Tonight, we will be running 101 laps at Southern National Motorsports Park, located in Lucama, North Carolina. This track was opened back in 1993 and closed in 2008, but then reopened in 2012. And in that time, it's hosted the Cars Tour, the Past Late Models Tour, and the Southern Modified Tour, along with local classes that you would expect at any local short track, such as Legends, Street Stocks, and so on. This track is 0.4 miles long, or 0.64 kilometers, and has considerably more banking than we had last week at Irwindale, so we should have some higher speeds, and we're definitely going to have faster lap times here tonight at Southern National. Attrition Sim Race Campus is in its 5th year of running. The Oval Series currently is in its 2nd year of running, but Attrition as a league began back in 2017 with its Road Series that, while having undergone some changes to the rules in the past 5 years, still runs every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern with multi-class TCR and MX5 races. Following that, we have the Oval Series, which you are seeing here tonight, 101 lap late model races every Monday at 9 p.m., green flag at 10 p.m. And then on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., or I believe 9 p.m., I'm not quite sure which time slot it is, they have the Dirt Series running the pro late models with heat races. So Attrition Sim Race Campus has a lot to offer. Tonight we have 13 drivers registered to run 101 laps of late model action here at Southern National Motorsports Park. And it looks like we are just about done with qualifying. So how about we go look at our starting grid presented by the Majors Garage and by Sim Racer Hub. Starting out on pole tonight, driving the number 400 Everfrost entry is Garrett Hess, with previous race winner and 3-time Oval Series champion Brian Cebelski in the 85 starting to his outside. Back in 3rd place, Nico Morelli in the 14, making his first race of the season, though he is not new to attrition by any means. In 4th place, in the 93 entry, Jason Gardner, the man who makes a lot of the Oval Series happen. Back in 5th place, driving the number 13, is Travis Sukup. In 6th place is Tyler Mcrae in the number 4 for Black Sheep Racing. Back in the 7th place, the number 27, Johnny Bell, driving the Lernerville TV car. In 8th place, another ASRC regular making his first start of the season, Rob Haynes in the number 25 Extreme Sim Racing entry. In 9th place, Eric Gann in the 51 machine. In 10th place, Jason Mong in the number 70. In 11th place, Justin Walters in the 68 for Mason-Dixon Motorsports, who I believe is a rookie here with Attrition, though I could be mistaken on that. And in 12th place, Mr. Dave C. Eric in the number 56 entry. And rounding out our field tonight, driving the number 1 machine is Bill Watkins. The pace car will be off next time by. 101 laps here on the docket at Southern National Motorsports Park. We have some very stiff competition in the field tonight, and this should be a very interesting race here, race fans. The iRacing.com pace truck is off, and we are going green flag racing here at Southern National Motorsports Park. Brian Cebelski very quickly getting ahead of Nicholas Morelli, trying to hold down the bottom line, which he seems to have gotten down pretty successfully. A lot of talk in the paddock tonight that both lines seem to be fairly good for at least defending. Maybe not particularly passing on the outside, but it is possible to defend up there. But that's also on fresh tires, so we will have to see how these drivers' strategies change up from what they're initially expecting after 101 laps are put down on these tires. Back in the 5th position, Tyler Mcrae in that 4 machine is currently up from where he qualified and is rounding out the top 5 of the field tonight. Currently trying to get around the 13 of Travis Sukup. And it looks like these drivers are kind of single filing it out, making the bottom line work for them. And Tyler makes a dive down to the inside. I think that Travis might have drifted up a little bit there. He managed to get the pass off. Now is actually our biggest mover of the race so far, up 2 positions from where he qualified in that number 4 entry. Tyler Mcrae out of Chesterfield, Virginia. He is doing a pretty solid job in the first 5 laps of this race, and he's already gaining on Nico Morelli in the 14. Nico looking like he got a little loose out of the corner there. His rear end did slide out just a tad, but nowhere near enough for Tyler to try and make a move on him this early in the race. A lot of drivers are considering about saving their tires. We do have 101 laps, of course. There is no need to be pushing yourself in full 100% aggression mode with still less than a tenth of the race completed. This is a long race, not necessarily the longest. They do average about 45 minutes, but a lot can happen in that time frame, race fans, and we're going to see a lot happen here tonight, as it looks like Tyler did get pretty loose out of the corner there. Further back in the back, Rob Haynes, currently in 8th place in his number 25 Extreme Sim Racing entry. Rob is actually a California native and regularly visited our track that we visited last week, Irwindale Speedway. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it out to the season opener. He had some personal stuff he had to deal with, and, you know, that's fair. We all do. But it is really great to see him out on track here tonight for round 2. He is currently maintaining the position that he was in where he started, the 8th spot out of 13. He's been actually quite a rival of mine back when I drove in the Oval Series. He and I were very similar in pace, and we often had some really great battles together. And it looks like up in 3rd place, Tyler Mcrae is making a move on Nico Morelli. Nico gets pushed up to the high side. Tyler Mcrae now up another spot from where he qualified. These drivers, however, still side by side. He has not secured the position yet, though it looks like Nico is losing a little bit of ground in each corner. But he's still making that high side work well enough for him, though it does look like Tyler will get the pass completed here with 16 laps now in the books. Tyler, definitely our biggest mover tonight, and we'll have to see if he has anything to offer for our current race leader driving the number 400 entry, Garrett Hess. He is driving for Everfrost, who I understand is a Finnish symphonic metal band. I'll tell you what, race fans, those are some words that don't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I respect him driving for one of his favorite bands, and I've got to say, their album cover looks real great on that late model 400 machine. Further back, it does look like we are starting to get a bit of a spread out happening here in the back. About almost a full second gap between Eric Gahn in the 51 and Jason Mong in the 70 for 9th and 10th place respectively. And then another fairly large gap even further back for Bill Watkins in the number 1 and Mr. Dave Sierrick in the 56. These two drivers still back where they qualified. Bill Watkins did manage to make the pass on Dave Sierrick. And these two drivers we're going to have to keep an eye on. not every great battle happens for the lead, race fans. And these two drivers do seem fairly close to each other in pace and skill, so even if they do have a bit of a gap between themselves and the race leaders, they're still battling each other for position, and they still very much are a part of this race. Back in the front, Brian Cebelski driving his NTO paint scheme, which is a bit of a throwback to the 1997 Kyle Petty NWO paint scheme from the NASCAR Busch Series. He just changed it up a little bit and used it to represent his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Nihon Tiger. You can actually watch his perspective of the race right now. He streams all of his races in the Attrition Sim Race Campus series, and he is live right now. If you would all like to go check out his perspective of the race, that is twitch.tv/Nihon Tiger. And it looks like Tyler Mcrae just tried to get his nose up under him. Almost made it happen, but he backed off before risking any contact with Brian in that 85 machine. But that definitely was a little bit of a close call. Same thing's happening back for the 4th and 5th position. Travis Sukup trying to get his nose up under Nico Morelli. Nico, I don't believe, has gotten very much practice for this race, but he is still doing a very impressive job holding himself up in the top 5, currently in 4th position, driving that Justin Wilson tribute. Justin Wilson was a F1 Champ Car and IndyCar driver who was very accomplished, but unfortunately passed away in an accident several years back, and it is very cool to see our drivers here at Attrition running paint schemes that are throwbacks or tributes to their favorite racing drivers from the past. That said, though, Travis Sukup has officially gotten alongside Nico Morelli. Nico once again pinned up to the high side, and looking like Travis is going to get the pass off in that number 13 machine. But Nico is still holding on tight. Jason Gardner in the 93 also trying to get his nose up there and capitalize on Nico being stuck up on the high side. There was a little bit of wiggle out of Travis there. Almost made a little bit of contact with Nico, but these two drivers are keeping it very close together here tonight, race fans. Honestly, if either one of them made a little bit of a mistake in this corners, they would be making contact with each other. But this currently is the closest battle on track, as these two drivers keep it side by side, lap after lap. We're already a third of the way through this race. These drivers are starting to get in the mood to start pushing their cars a little bit. Every lap we complete is another lap they have to start thinking about their strategies. Every lap completed is another lap that they don't have to think anymore. So the pressure is definitely slowly but surely building with these drivers as Travis completes the pass, and now Jason Gardner gets on the inside of Nico Morelli. And it looks like they might have bounced off of each other going into turn 3 there, but both drivers keeping their cars straight, as it looks like Jason does make the pass happen. Nico, now having fallen back 3 spots from where he qualified, is now Johnny Bell tries to make the same thing happen as these other 3 drivers. And trouble! Garrett Hess is around. Trouble on turn 2. That is not what our race leader wanted to see tonight, fans. Let's see if we can get a look back and see just what happened to that number 400 Everfrost entry. Coming across the start-finish line here, Brian in that 85 machine dives it down low and just can't get the grip he needed to keep the car down on the inside, and made contact with... Oh no. It looks like... I'm not quite sure who that was, but someone got additional contact with Garrett there. Oh no! That looks like Tyler Mcrae in the number 4 entry. Currently the race's biggest mover. He was up 4 spots from where he qualified, and he just could not manage to avoid that caution, and that's some pretty big damage for the driver of that number 4 machine. He might not be able to get back into this race. Let's ride on board with Brian Cebelski in the number 85 machine as we take a look back at that incident. Brian here in P2, he goes down to the inside to try and complete the pass on Garrett Hess, and he just drifted up a little bit and made contact with Garrett's left rear quarter panel. When it comes to short track bullring action like this, race fans, that's simply a reality of how it goes sometimes. Things are tight, things are fast, and things are frantic, and you have to make decisions on quite literal split seconds, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. We do have 2 drivers down in pit lane, Tyler Mcrae in that 4 machine that was caught up in that big wreck. And we're green flag racing again. That was fast. I thought we had another lap of pacing. Brian Cebelski is our new race leader, of course, after that incident. Garrett Hess in the 400 is still running strong here tonight. He has fallen back 8 spots, now back in P9. Of course, he qualified on pole, so he has fallen pretty heavily from where he qualified here tonight as he starts to pick his way around the other drivers. He does have some pretty heavy damage to the rear end of that 400 entry, but regardless of that, he's still setting pretty good times. And it looks like he is not going to let that damage hold him back here tonight at Southern National. Now trying to make his way past Rob Haynes in the 25 JL audio entry. And he successfully gets it done, just like that. Though he does drift up a bit out of the corner. Overdrove it just a tad. Rob tried to make the crossover happen on him and capitalize on that mistake, but he just did not have the drive off the corner to make it happen. Garrett Hess back up 2 spots from where he went during that wreck. He's still got a long way to go if he wants to make it back up to the lead of this race, as we have 55 laps to go here tonight at Southern National. Johnny Bell in the 27 Lernerville TV entry, he is up 5 spots from where he started this race. He is definitely happy about that caution. Last week, he made a very daring pit strategy, and it almost worked out for him, but with just 5 laps to go, he ran out of fuel. And then, on top of that, got a penalty for speeding on pit lane, ending his night in a very dramatic fashion after making his way up to the front with a very daring pit strategy. So he's definitely happy to be back up on the podium as we pass the halfway point. It'll definitely be exciting to see if he manages to keep this second position working for him. He does seem to be losing time on our race leader, Brian Cebelski, and it does look like Travis makes the move on Johnny. Johnny got up a little bit too high in the corner, and Travis was able to get his nose down beneath Johnny in that number 13 machine. Johnny still is on the podium, still 4 spots up from where he qualified, but it does look like he is slowly losing time to the competition. He might have burned a little bit of rubber off of those tires in the opening laps of this race. Back in the 7th position, Jason Mong in the 70 machine, currently trying to hold off our former race leader, Garrett Hess. And he's making it happen for the most part. He's also trying to work his way around Eric Gahn in the 51. He did gain a bit of time on Eric there, though it looks like Garrett is going to dive it down low. They're going 3 wide. Garrett backs off of there, but he does make the pass on Eric Gahn. It looks like Eric got a little bit antsy from that 3 wide situation, and they did lose 2 spots there, both Jason Mong and Garrett Hess managing to get around Eric. Eric in that 51 machine is still 2 spots up from where he qualified, so he did lose some positions in the short term, but in the long term he is still doing better than he did initially. We do have two drivers now 1 lap down, the 68 of Justin Walsers and the 56 of Dave Sierrick. I'm not sure if these drivers had difficulty or if they just went a lap down from pace, but they still are battling it out with each other. Both drivers having not a particularly large gap between each other, though they are beginning to act as lap traffic for our race leaders. Everyone seems to be getting filtered around them pretty well, but lap traffic, definitely not what these race leaders want to see. It always manages to make things a little bit more complicated. Up in the lead, Brian Cebelski is sailing away a little bit. Oh, and it looks like Travis might have just scraped the wall there. That did not help his chances of getting it up to the lead. Travis was within a third of a second of Brian Cebelski. He's now fallen down to 0.4 of a second, so not too big of a penalty for Travis Sukup scraping the wall like that. He is still managing to keep it going, but definitely not what he wanted to see. We're now at 40 laps remaining in this race. We've reached the point where mistakes are going to get progressively more costly for these drivers. And eventually, it's going to get to the point where you make a mistake and you're not going to be able to recover from it. As Jason Gardner found out in our previous race, when after leading almost more than half of the race, he scraped the wall with 5 to go, allowing our current race leader Brian Cebelski to get past him and claim the race win back at Irwindale. Looking a little further back, Jason Gardner has caught up to fellow league admin Johnny Bell, our two administrative drivers battling it out for the podium position. Jason did have a fairly sizable deficit to Johnny up until this point, so it does seem like Johnny might be losing a little bit of speed. He might have burned the good off of these tires, but he's still going to do everything he can to keep the rest of these cars behind him. But every lap we pass, Jason gets a little bit closer, and Johnny's definitely not going to enjoy that extra pressure on his bumper. Brian Cebelski now being caught up to by Travis Sukup. Travis managed to reduce it to a 0.2 second gap for just a moment there, but it looks like he had to back off a little bit. He might have drove it a little too hard into the corner, but he's still making it happen here tonight. He is still keeping pretty solid pace with Brian Cebelski. He actually was 0.02 of a second faster than Brian last time by, so he is very slowly catching up to Brian. And that time by, Brian was faster than Travis, but again by only 0.02 of a second. So these drivers are right on pace with one another here tonight. It's going to take a little bit of a mistake and maybe a little bit of bumping to make this pass happen, but it is still very much possible. Further back, former race leader in the 400 machine, Garrett Hess, is now in P6 after that caution flag, trying his best to claw back as many positions as he can. Garrett, of course, starting on the pole tonight, leading the first quarter of this race until he and Brian Cebelski made contact. And while, we have a slow car on the front stretch. Nico Morelli looks like he might be having some trouble. He is currently 32 laps down, so it looks like he just came out of pit lane and he might have just held it down to the low side to let the lead lap drivers by, but that was a little scary. For a second there, I thought he might have been down on power and had some engine damage. Currently our closest battle on track, Jason Gardner and Johnny Bell still duking it out to try and get onto the podium. Johnny Bell up 4 spots from where he qualified here tonight and has been holding it down there fairly well. Travis Sukup managed to get around to him about 25 laps ago, but he's still doing a pretty solid job of holding off Jason Gardner in that Raybestos Breaks entry, that being another 90s NASCAR throwback. I'm not quite sure which driver drove the Raybestos Breaks entry, but it is quite a stellar looking hot rod, and I'll tell you what, race fans, it looks great on a late model, even if that isn't a NASCAR car. Further back, Rob Haynes driving the 25 entry. He is still where he qualified here tonight in the 8th position, getting trailed by Bill Watkins about 2 seconds back. Bill Watkins is up 4 spots from where he qualified. Bill Watkins starting shotgun to the field back in 13th place. So he has made some pretty solid progress here tonight, clawing those positions back, as it looks like Justin Walters is going to try and make the pass on him. It does look like Justin overdrove the corner just a bit there. He did go a bit high out of 2. But as Bill takes the high line in some of these corners, Justin may be able to make something happen here. Though it does seem like Justin is overdriving corner entry just a little. He's going about half a car length higher up the track than I've seen other drivers taking their racing lines here tonight. But hey, who am I to judge? You know, if you can make alternative lines work, then more power to you. Back up in the front, Travis is beginning to make a bit of progress on catching up to Brian Cebelski. Travis was faster than Brian last time by in that number 13 machine. Again, only by a couple hundredths of a second, but it looks like every lap Travis is going faster than Brian. 19 laps to go here tonight, but that might just be enough for Sukup in that 13 machine to make something happen on our current race leader and 3-time champion, Brian Cebelski. They are starting to come up on lap traffic though. The 56 of Dave Sierra going up high to let them by. That is putting a decent bit of a gap between Dave and Justin Walters, but it looks like they're not on the same lap, so they're not currently battling for position. Bill Watkins in the number 1 entry, currently the last car on the lead lap, and unless we get a caution fairly soon here, that might change. Bill going up to the high line, letting the leaders by, showing some sportsmanship in that number 1 machine. He's not wanting to impede the race of our race leaders. And with 15 to go, things are definitely going to start getting intense throughout this field. Still currently our closest battle on track, Jason Mong has gotten himself involved in the battle between Jason Gardner and Johnny Bell. The two Jasons seem to have been battling a pretty good amount both this race and the race before. Perhaps it has something to do with their names, or perhaps they just happen to be in the same place at the same time. But both of these drivers often tend to be side by side with each other, especially later on in the races. Oh, it looks like Johnny Bell has gone around. The caution's not out. He managed to keep the car going, but that is not what Johnny Bell wanted to see. And Johnny makes contact again with Garrett Hess in the 400. Garrett keeps it going as well. Definitely not what either of these drivers wanted to see tonight. That was a bit of a double whammy for Johnny there. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened to Johnny real quick. Johnny gets just a little bit of contact from Jason from behind. He gets the car going again. The caution does not go out, and then it happens again with Garrett Hess in the number 400 machine. Very unfortunate for the driver of the 27 Lernerville TV entry. Up in the front, Brian Cebelski, still our current race leader, and still Travis Sukup is gaining on him every lap. He's currently 0.2 of a second behind Cebelski, and every lap, Travis's laps are about 1/10 of a second faster than Brian's. So as we get to 8 to go here, Travis may start looking to make moves on the driver of that 85 machine. I would not be surprised if we get a little bit of bump and run action. Of course, that requires Travis to manage to get up to the bumper of Brian Cebelski. That time by, Travis again setting a faster lap than Brian. Brian setting a 15.38 and Travis setting a 15.31. So it looks like Brian does have a better run off of the corners, but Travis is still managing to set a faster lap time. So it'll definitely be interesting to see if Travis can make something happen with the big 5-5 up in the air now. 5 fingers up in the air, 5 laps to go from our flagman. Lap traffic is going to play an issue here, race fans. Brian and Travis coming up behind our former race leader and pole sitter, Garrett Hess, in the number 400 machine. Along with that, Eric Gahn trying to make moves on Johnny Bell. Johnny in 5th place after those 2 incidents that happened to him. He's still holding on to a top 5, even if it's not what he wanted, originally being on the podium. But he's still making this top 5 happen for him tonight. That said, though, 2 to go this time by. Travis Sukup 0.3 of a second behind Brian Cebelski. We're about to be 1 to go as the drivers exit this corner. Sukup's going to have to push with everything that he has, and it looks like that might not happen. We're going into turn 1. Sukup got loose coming out of 4 and had to check up to save the car. Out of turn 4, Brian Cebelski is now our 2-time race winner here at Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series Season 7. Back-to-back winner to open up our season. Won it back at Irwindale, won it here tonight at Southern National. We'll have to see if he keeps this streak up going into our next race at Thompson Speedway. A very good show by Brian Cebelski, all things considered. Travis Sukup and Jason Mong rounding out our top 3. Travis making, I believe, his rookie debut here with Attrition, and Jason Mong doing a lot better than his previous finish at Irwindale, as it looks like our race winner is gonna burn it down here tonight at Southern National. Congratulations to the 85 of Brian Cebelski for making things work for him. It was a little unfortunate what happened between him and Garrett, but he made it happen. As it looks like we might have had a little bit of contact there. That's okay, that's fine. They can afford to fix these cars, right? I'm pretty sure they get paid enough for that. What's the race winnings here? Like, nothing? Yeah, that's fine. They can afford that. We'll give Brian just a moment to take his victory lap and take the checkered flag, and then we'll see if we can dial him up for an interview. Currently dialing up Brian Cebelski in the number 85 entry. No response yet from him, but he should be calling me up on the radio here in just a moment. Brian Cebelski, he didn't lead every lap. He qualified P2, and he made things work tonight in that 85 NTO entry. It does not look like Brian is answering our call for an interview. We will give him just a few more moments to see if he picks up. And then, if not, we will just have to go to your second place finisher. Actually, our second place finisher, I do not believe has a Discord. That might be a bit of a problem. For that matter, I don't think our third place finisher has a Discord either. So, unless we can get Brian to answer the radio, we may just be going interviewless here tonight at Southern National. And you know what? That's okay. Our drivers are certainly not obligated to give post race interviews, and I totally understand with that. Interviews can be a bit intimidating. We'll give him one more dial, and if that doesn't work, then we might just have to call it. It does not look like he is picking up. So, in the meantime, let's go and take a look at our official race results. Of course, Brian Cebelski, he qualified P2. He led most of this race after making a pass on Brian Cebelski on on Garrett Hess, our pole sitter, and he takes home the checkered flag here tonight in the 85 entry. In second place, Travis Sukup, up 3 positions from where he qualified, taking home the podium on what I believe is his first ever race. And we're gonna pause the race results here for just a second. We have Brian Cebelski. He is alive. Brian,
Sorry, I went downstairs for a moment.
that's all good. You just won the race 2 times in a row. How'd you make that happen?
Well, first off, apologies to everybody for that one caution. I don't know if it was race incident, like if it was just two cars getting together or whatnot. I feel bad about it because I mean Tyler got like straight up pit walled. Poor guy. Um, I'll probably go send him a sorry message here in a moment, just because I feel bad about it. Um, yeah, it was nice to win. I don't think I wasn't really trying to move Garrett there or anything when that incident happened. I was just gonna stick behind him and hang out for a bit. But yeah, just uh, just a pretty good race. Other than that, I'm fairly surprised I kept Travis behind me, given that he had fresh tires and I did not.
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah,
is short track racing. It's
it
sometimes
is.
unavoidable,
It
especially
is.
at a relatively higher bank track like this. Things are fast, things are frantic, and eventually someone is going to have to be the person that makes a mistake.
Yeah, and I feel like I made the mistake. I feel like I probably should have held off a little bit before I tried to make that move, or maybe I should have. Maybe it was my mistake. I don't know, but I ended up with another win tonight, so kind of inching that lead a little bit more out. But yeah, I mean, car ran good all night, so I can't particularly complain too much about that, especially on the baseline setup. But yeah, just thanks to everybody. Thanks to all the folks who are hanging out here in Twitch watching the race and all that. And gosh, what else was I thinking about?
Follow twitch.tv/Nihon Tiger. Do it now.
Yeah, I guess you can do. I guess you can do that. But yeah, that was definitely quite an interesting race, and thanks to everyone for being here. And yeah, we'll be back next week hopefully. So it will be a week I'm missing because of vacation. Actually, maybe 2 weeks I'm missing because of vacation stuff. So I may not be here for a bit, but so I gotta make the best of what I got.
You may not be here for a bit, but we got 4 drop weeks this season, and
That's
I'll tell you
true.
what, 2 wins looks good on any scorecard.
I think so. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for broadcasting again, Aiden. By the way, much appreciated.
Of course. Unfortunately, it looks like the rest of our podium finishers don't have a Discord, so you may be our sole interview for tonight.
Oh, okie doke. Well, that's
Anything else you'd
interesting.
like to say before I throw you out of my booth like the mean person I am?
Um, like, comment, subscribe.
I like that. I like that sentiment. You heard it here first, folks. Our race winner, Brian Cebelski.
Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, it does look like our other podium drivers are not picking up on the radio. So, as I was saying, back with our race results, Brian Cebelski taking home his second win of the season, back to back opening races in the number 85 machine. Travis Sukup in his rookie debut, I believe, picking up P2 in the 13. Jason Mong getting his first podium of the season in the number 70. Jason Gardner finishing in fourth place, down a little bit from where he was last race. Johnny Bell in the 27, finishing P5. Eric Gunn in the 51 for Dirtback Racing, finishing 6th. Rob Haynes in the 25, finishing 7th. Garrett Hess, our pole sitter, finishing back in 8th in the number 400. Bill Watkins in the 9, securing a top 10 here tonight in the number 1 machine. Justin Walters in the 68, back in 10th. Mr. Dave Sierrick in the 56 and 11th. Nico Morelli in the 14, back in 12th. And rounding out our field tonight, Tyler Mcrae in the number 4 for Black Sheep Racing. This is about all I got for the Attrition Sim Race Oval Series here tonight at Southern National Motorsports Park. Next week, round 3 will be at the Thompson Speedway. Gonna be a bit of a bigger track than we had here tonight. Thompson Speedway coming out at 0.62 miles or 1 kilometer exactly in length. So it'll definitely be exciting to see how these late model drivers handle going on a bit of a longer track compared to these two shorter bullring style tracks we've had so far this season. Thank you all for watching. This has been your host, Icy Otter, and I will see you all next week. Same date, same time, Mondays at 10 Eastern for the next round of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series. Thank you all for coming by, and I will see y'all next time.